Hold on just a second.
But all that ends right now!
All right. What's good, everybody? This is your boy, the Dark Star Menace, and today we are going to do, I guess we're going to do a little discussion on the Superman trailer. I know I got Johnny D coming in a little bit. I know I'm having a little issue with getting the link sent to him, so just kind of bear with me for a little bit. But yeah, once Johnny gets in here, then we'll go ahead and get into the thick of it. I mean, and like I was saying on the last video I did when I reacted to it, honestly, I'm trying to think how I should describe the trailer. I'm a little 50. I'm split on it for the most part. I can honestly say that when it came down to the trailer, me personally, I didn't have too much of an issue. Hold on one second. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna try to send the link over to Johnny one more time. Bear with me for a moment. I'm gonna send it to him one more time. Just give me a second, and then I'll finish what I was saying. Just a second. Okay. So I got the link sent to him, so hopefully he should be good with that. But like I said, there were some pros and cons with it. I mean, one thing I've been saying, and me and my girl have been saying it, the suit. It's the suit. Just it's too baggy. It just looks too baggy on David Cornsweat. I'm just gonna be honest. That's my biggest gripe is the suit just looks baggy. Sorry. I was eating tacos earlier. Anyway, yeah, that's my biggest gripe is the suit. Like I said, it just doesn't look like it fits him that well. Like, I get what they were trying to go for, but it's kind of a swing and a miss there. The only redeeming qualities that I can say that do give the suit a little bit of credit is the color scheme, as far as like making it a brighter blue. Why the fuck am I fucking my words up? But a brighter blue is one of the things that just brighter colors in general is what helps the suit. That helps the suit a lot. He made sure he got the right link. But anyway, yeah, the suit, yeah, just the bright colors for the suit help. And then hold on one second. Okay, I got my boy Maverick in here. Give me a minute. Let me get him on. Let me add him to the stage. Hey, Maverick, you caught me in the middle of my monologue, bro. let me get through the monologue real quick. So, like I said, the only pros that I think were good with it was the color scheme, like just the brightness of the color of the suit is just damn near perfect. Oh well, Johnny made it in. That's the one thing I like about it is the brightness of the suit, and then just them adding the S symbol on the back of the cape. Only redeeming quality about the suit. The rest of it is ass. And I just had to get that part of the monologue out of the way because there were some things about the trailer I liked and some things I didn't like. But let's go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and introduce everybody. You got my boy Maverick right here, and then we got my boy Johnny D, who's been a long time, contributor to my channel for a hot minute. What's going on, everybody?
Not much. It's just it was an interesting trailer. So
yeah. Nah, what are your thoughts on it, man? Go for it. We'll start with you, Maverick. Give your thoughts.
So there's certain things that I like. I like that there's a little overall like brighter color scheme to it. I think that Zack Snyder's was very dark for most of his world.
Agreed.
but I feel like James Gunn is falling back into the things that he's comfortable with, which
Mhm.
are goofy team up things, right? Because we have like all of these different characters, and we've got like Guy Gardner in there with the goofy bowl cut.
Man, I'm not gonna
And-
talk about that damn bowl cut, bro. I already roasted the fuck out that bowl cut.
Yeah, and I just feel like there's a really high probability that we get, the Guardians of the Galaxy attempt with the Superman movie, and that's just not what I really want from that movie. But
Agreed.
there's a few other things in there too, but that's just my general feelings on it.
Yeah. I'm not gonna agree with that. Even though I know like how James Gunn pitched it is that there was already other superheroes that did exist in the DC universe before Superman. And it's there, and from my understanding, it's not supposed to be the Justice League. So I don't really know who they're supposed to be exactly. But I know it's not supposed to be the Justice League. I know that. But yeah, dude, I agree with you 100% with the whole team up thing. I don't know how I feel about that with it being like a whole team up in Superman's old solo movie. That's a little weird, but I'll just run with it. I don't know. What do you think, Johnny?
The camera, it starts this one down here.
Hold on. Hey, Johnny, I'm gonna mute you for a minute until you're ready to go.
Oh, I'm sorry. My wife's like messing with the camera, so I get the right one on. Is all.
No, I feel you, bro. I was just gonna meet you for a second so you can get your camera set up and everything, you know?
Right.
Oh, nope, that's me.
Yeah,
Hi,
okay,
sorry.
Because we got two. We got one that's pointed at the dog's bed, and we got one that points at us as humans.
Oh God.
Because like when she streams, she ends up using both on her.
And my dog just knocked my mouse over. Give me a second.
Strong start.
Put that down just in case. Why is it?
All right, hang on.
It's this one.
But in regard to the trailer, to me, it was kind of like seeing a picture of your ex on Facebook.
Oh my God, bro. What
And
the
he
fuck?
disconnects.
It's okay. I'm gonna bring him
Mark
back. Don't worry, I'm gonna bring him back. When he's good, I'm gonna bring him back. There we go. All right, Johnny. Ooh, man, it's a little too bright.
Oh Jesus, it is.
Yeah,
I think
give us a second.
she'll figure.
Yeah, no,
something
you're
I'm
good.
gonna figure it
but-
out. Sorry, Dom.
For me, it's
Nah,
like
you're good.
seeing your
Hey,
ex
I'm gonna.
online
Yeah, go
looking
ahead, man. Do your
good.
thing.
But it's like I still wouldn't want to go back to that craziness. It doesn't matter how good it looks, and parts of it do look really good. I think Crypto looked awesome. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on in there. The bowl cut does look ridiculous, but when did it ever not?
Right.
Even in
Right.
comic books, it's always been insanely ridiculous
Agreed.
haircut. So I mean, it doesn't bother me. I think it's cool that as being a fan of voice acting the way that I am, and him having been doing the voice acting bit since basically the second movie, I think, second or third movie, the first Wonder Woman, because he was
Yeah, he was Steve Trevor in the Wonder Woman movie, and then I know he had been voicing Green Lantern for a hot minute. Hal Jordan.
right, and so for him to kind of come in and get his due with all the dedication he's shown to DC, I think that's pretty cool. I love it when they show their appreciation to the people who properly represent DC Comics and things of that nature.
Right.
But for me, and it's not to say I'll never get involved in these movies, but I don't have any current interest. I'm still upset over them them ending the previous universe just to end it.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I'll have to agree with that. That was a little preemptive to just kind of end the DCU the way they ended it. Like I don't know. I feel like it would have deserved a little bit of a better ending in my opinion, but it is what it is, man.
There's
And it
also
did-
a lot of things that were just scuffed with the DCEU. Like, I thought it was bizarre that they had Batman versus Superman as an introduction when that's something that's supposed to happen like significantly later in their relationship
Right.
and in the timeline. Like, I feel like the DCEU was so screwed up because they tried to basically jam pack catching up with Marvel.
Yes.
And they're
Sorry,
like,
don't
the
mind me, I
Avengers
don't-
is great. So, but they ignore the fact that there were like, 4 or 5 other movies that led up to the Avengers. And they're like, well, we just want to get to the Justice League because that's what we think is going to make us the most money. So I'm not,
Sorry.
I don't know. I have mixed feelings on it because there's things, it's like the thing that could have been great that just wasn't great, in my opinion. And I don't even know. I feel like they tried way too hard to like make it go away, like
Right.
explain it.
Right. Agreed. Like, because even I can, because as much as there's a lot of things I like about the DCEU, I can even agree that it started to become a convoluted mess between the Justice League movie and things after Justice League. It just started to become very convoluted. I can 100% agree with that. Because, like, even Batman versus Superman, like, for me, that was just like, what the fuck? But I went with it. I went along with it. And, yeah, that movie had a lot of problems. It had a lot of problems. And then don't even get me started with the first cut of Justice League. That was just a hot mess. You can tell they were playing catch up. Like, they just threw every member of the Justice League at you without giving really any backstory on any of the characters. And at least with Avengers, with the MCU, you got backstory on the characters before they got thrown into the Avengers, with the exception of Hawkeye. but again, you have a lot of characters that just got thrown into the DCEU, and it's like, okay, who the fuck is this guy? Okay, who the fuck is that guy? What's his fucking powers? Like, what's his backstory? How does he fit? How does he or she fit into this said universe? You know what I mean? It's like they were just taking boogers, flinging it at the wall, and just hoping it would stick.
And to me, one of the worst things about them just deciding to just end it without giving us any kind of satisfaction is I wanted to see Patty Jenkins' trilogy, play out. I was not one of the haters of 84. Was it as good as the first one? No, but to me, that's one of the greatest comic book movies ever made. So I don't know how many can compete with that. I don't honestly know just how many movies of like just the action genre can really compete with that movie. I loved it so much. I've got a closet full of the Funko Pops from that movie and a few from the sequel, and I wanted to see where it was all going. And then I also recently found out that when James Gunn took over, he canceled an animation project of Kingdom Come.
Really?
And yeah, that dissatisfies me because I've read that probably 4 times.
Yeah, same. I've read that book a lot. That's actually a very good book. And and even then, I low-key kind of think James Gunn is hinting at possibly alluding to something along the lines with Kingdom Come. But then again, that's just speculation. That's just me putting my tinfoil hat on right now. But I don't know. I don't know how. Like I said, I don't know how I really feel about this movie. I mean, for the most part, again, I do like the tone though, because I won't lie, like that trailer actually brought my inner child out. I'm not even gonna sit there and try to lie and say, "Oh, this trailer was ass." I'm like, no, I'm not. No, it actually brought my inner child out. But again, I have my gripes with that fucking suit.
I think if he had done a better job on Suicide Squad, maybe I'd have a little more faith in him. But it's like, because he did so excellent on all 3 of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I think that's a really good, solid trilogy. That third one was, if you're a pet lover, it's a little bit difficult at times to watch.
That one almost made me cry. I'm not even gonna sit up there and try to front the third Suicide Squad movie. Not Suicide
Guardians.
Squad, Guardians. Yeah, thank you. When they did Rocket's backstory, bro. I was almost in fucking tears watching that shit.
And so he did great on those movies, but it makes me wonder, like maybe what he does so well is taking characters you don't know that well, because there's certain personality traits that they have that aren't from the comics. So I've been told. I've never read any of the originals, but they say there's certain things that he kind of added in, and so when you have that wiggle room to take a character that people don't know as much and kind of put a television or movie friendly personality to it with some humor, it's like he seems pretty good at that. And I just when he kind of took over with Suicide Squad, I feel like he was kind of trying to do a little bit of that, but it didn't quite work. And so it's like he has really great credentials over here and meh credentials over here, but it's over here is the category we're in. We're in the DC category. We're in the main characters category, and even then he's still trying to shove some of the lesser known characters in there, I think, so that he can so that maybe he does have some of that wiggle room with some of these characters. And I don't see myself seeing it in theaters unless the fan reaction is just crazy.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that too, because he actually did say that was kind of one of his goals, was he did want to kind of bring in lesser known characters. That was kind of his goal that he did want to do, was he wanted to try to bring lesser known characters to the big screen. So I think that's kind of why, you know, he threw in characters like Guy Gardner, Mr. Terrific, which, by the way, I'm actually kind of glad he brought Mr. Terrific. That's a character. That's a character, in my opinion, that gets slept on a lot. I mean, for fuck's sakes, this dude is like smarter than Batman, for fuck's sakes. You know, like, if I'm not mistaken, he was the one that actually successfully shut down the OMAC virus, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, yeah. He does look good in the trailer. The bits that they show for Mr. Terrific, he looks solid. I thought the costume looked good. There was a point where it showed some tech, like creating a shield, I think.
Yeah, those were the T-spheres. Yeah, his T-spheres.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do with it. I do like that James Gunn is linking all of the shows that they have going on. All of the animated projects are all supposed to be canon to the movies.
Yeah, like
now. So like bringing that universe together as a whole, I think that there leaves some opportunity for some of these characters that are all getting like shoved into the Superman movie to be developed through other shows leading up to the movie, which I think will create space maybe for that being part of it.
Yeah.
But if that movie were to drop today, I don't know that the universe has been built enough for the one that Gunn is presenting that we wouldn't have an issue like we had with Justice League.
Right.
If there's a show that it, you know, kind of goes into who his like Hot Girl and Guy Gardner and some of these other characters are, then I think we potentially go in with a different Mr. Terrific, Metamorpho. If he has all of those characters kind of built out through other media before introducing Superman into the world, then I think that potentially sets us up for a better movie.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, and I think it is kind of weird that he does have it is a universe where like the heroes do exist. Sorry, I got a little one. He's being a little bit of a needy brat. Hold on, I got to get his harness off him. But anyway, yeah, it is a little bit of an interesting world where like the superheroes are already kind of exist in the universe, and then Superman just happens to be in the universe, but he's not the first, which is something that is kind of canon to the comic books, because if I'm not mistaken, the first superhero within the DC universe was actually Green Lantern Alan Scott, if I'm not mistaken, because he was operating as Green Lantern around the time when Batman was a kid, if I'm not mistaken. But
And I was going to say, in the old cartoons, because everything started with the Batman cartoon, when they introduce Superman, they make reference to Batman having already been an established character. So it's not like this is anything new, and then going back to that same universe.
Yeah.
Justice League Unlimited took a lot of lesser known characters and gave them some awesome storylines, and they did it by putting them in with the main guys and running the missions that way. I think Batman Brave and the Bold kind of did the same thing.
Shout out
And-
to Dwayne McDuffie for the Justice League Unlimited, but go on.
Absolutely. And oh man, I came across an idiot online who was like, he's one of these like what Aries Spears might call a black militant guy, and he's just like ultra super pro black, but he was talking shit on the Justice League movie Doom, and I'm like, dude, you're betraying your own cause at the moment. That shit was written by Dwayne McDuffie, and but it was funny because like everybody was just hating on this guy, and I'm like, dude, you don't talk shit about Dwayne McDuffie.
How did this dude hate Justice League Doom?
Dude, I don't know. We were all confused. There was not one person in there that agreed with him. It was
That
like
was actually a really good fucking move. What the bro? You know what? I'm gonna just leave it. I'm gonna leave it alone, bro. I'm gonna leave it.
In regards to like Mr. Terrific, I will say there are a lot of prominent characters of color in DC, but there aren't a lot of A-listers. It's kind of like Cyborg and John Stewart, and then everybody quickly falls into B's and C's. And so to have somebody like Mr. Terrific have the possibility to move up to that A category where more people know him, better exposure, better stories, I think, there needs to be more of that, because like when all the diversity in comic books is just on the C level, people are gonna start to feel left out. When you create a superhero team, you want it to look diverse, you want it to look like a Power Rangers team basically, and you don't want to keep sticking all these lower characters in with these great ones just to check boxes. You want those characters to be awesome, and you want people to love them, even if that's somebody you don't immediately identify with racially or gender orientation or whatever. You still want people to love them, and I think that there's a lot of potential to move, because like that's what Doom did for Cyborg to me. Is it took Cyborg from being just a Teen Titan to now he's Justice League material, and
Yeah.
I think there's potential to take Mr. Terrific from being between B and C character up to an A character where I think he belongs.
Yeah, he should have been there a long time ago, in my opinion. There's a lot of characters that were like B and C listers that should have been elevated to A listers, in my opinion. I agree with that 100%. And it's
But
funny.
if that's what you want from the movie, I think that's the exact type of thing that James Gunn is good at. I mean,
right, agreed.
if there's something that James Gunn is going to be good at, it's going to be making characters like Mr. Terrific like elevated, and taking characters that aren't necessarily as well known, or might have some form of like weakness or whatever compared to a lot of the other characters, and then like bringing them up to a different level. I mean, it's the exact same thing with the Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, they're not super special for the most part. I mean, they have like super strength and some of these other things, but he elevated them to a level beyond what their comic book stature would have ever been, really.
Right. And another prime example of that, Peacemaker. Peacemaker is a prime example of that. Peacemaker is like damn near almost a D-lister. And the dude's not only got elevated to A-lister, but now he's front and center in the Suicide Squad comic books. And then let's also not forget about Bloodsport. That's another character who was kind of a C-lister, D-list villain. And now he's getting attention in the Suicide Squad comic books. There was just, and that's kind of the one thing I do like about Suicide Squad, is that it did take some characters that weren't like lesser known, and he brought them to the big screen. That's the one thing I can say that James Gunn did with the Suicide Squad. I was even gonna and Guardians of the Galaxy is another one that is the example of James Gunn being able to do that. So, and I think that's kind of what he's trying to do, is take some characters that are kind of like C-lister, D-listers, maybe even B-listers, and then giving them a little bit of time in the sunlight. And it's funny you brought up Jon Stewart because, they casted him for the TV series, right?
Oh, yeah.
The Lanterns TV series. And there might be a good chance Guy Gardner might be in the TV series.
Well, if it's based off the idea that everything is interconnected, I wouldn't be surprised if Guy Gardner does end up in the TV series as well.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a lot more opportunity for TV series characters to go into the big screen and vice versa. And, some of these characters to move over into animated things and all of that to kind of help flesh out the world.
Yeah, of course. And like I said, that's like that was kind of one of my biggest takeaways with some of those with the characters being in the Justice League trailer. How did y'all feel about the casting of Lex Luthor with Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor? Me personally, I thought that was spot on casting. I thought it was spot on.
I didn't like it at first until I saw the trailer, and I looked at him. I was like, okay, because he brings a little bit of like Smallville vibes to it, but like he's a little bigger, a little bulkier. He's kind of it's weird to say he's almost got like a potentially meaner look, like if two of these guys, if both of these actors were to mean mug you, like one of them is going to look adorable doing it, and the other one is going to look a little menacing. And so,
right.
And when I saw that, I was like, okay, and just the way he moved, and I know they only showed him for just a quick second, but I was like, okay, that feels like Lex Luthor. At first, I was like, meh, and then I was like, okay, I see what they're going for.
Yeah. And it's like, honestly, when I see Lex Luthor, I'm trying to see if I can blow this picture up and share it real quick. Hang on. I'm going to try to blow it up a little bit. All right. I'm going to try to share this picture, and this is why I always say, just give me 1 second. Okay. Which one was it? Okay. So I'll share the screen, and then you guys tell me what you think. Because this is what I see when I see Lex Luthor. Y'all tell me what you guys think. And I know it's a bad picture. I wish I could have magnified it a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like, that's basically like the straight up, like, isn't that the Wikipedia? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I can never find the actual picture, but
yeah, it's not I have to see more of Nicholas Hoult as it to really form a true opinion. I think that there's potential there, but I think there's also there's the potential for it to really go either way, right?
yeah.
So we'll kind of see with that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he only gets a couple seconds really in the trailers, so you don't get a whole lot of time.
Yeah. That is true. Well, I mean, I got faith in the dude. I mean, the dude's a good. He's a decent actor. Like,
yeah, he's a solid actor in general. So I do think that there's a lot of potential. It's just it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Right. That's how I feel about it with Lex Luthor. But that's what I feel like. For the most part, he looks the part, but I still got to see more. If that makes sense.
Yep.
And I think the same thing can be said for, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but Rachel, the one who plays Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. I think she really has the potential of being a really, really good Lois, and honestly, she's one of the things that kind of makes me want to see the movie. Like, even if I don't see it in theaters, I may check it out just to see what her performance was like, because I think she can kind of, I don't know that there's ever, to me, been a good Lois, like a really good, that would make you believe if this person was a journalist that she could like weasel her way in things, talk her way into things. There's like some Loises just aren't tough enough, and like to me, she has the potential to really
hold on.
be the person.
I gotta get you on this one, dude. I'm telling you, you need to watch Superman and Lois. The woman that Bitsy Tulloch, who plays Lois Lane on Superman and Lois, fucking amazing. She is fucking amazing as Lois Lane. She sells it so fucking well. Like, bro.
She does do a good job as
Yes,
Lois.
she fucking kills it as Lois Lane. She gives me like Margot Kidder vibes. Like, if you like Margot Kidder as Lois Lane, like from the Christopher Reeve Superman, then you'll fucking love Bitsy Tollett. She fucking nails those fucking vibes. And at the same time, she does not take shit from nobody in that show, not even Superman. That's one of the things that I loved about her Lois Lane is that her not take shit from anybody attitude is what makes Lois Lane who the fuck she is. You know? And she sells that so fucking well, especially in the what was it, the third season when she had cancer? And she was still basically telling Clark, look, stop fucking worrying about me. Go save people.
Well, you brought up the Christopher Reeves movies. I think that James Gunn is actually taking quite a bit of inspiration
Yep.
from those in a lot of ways too. Like even when you look at Superman,
Yeah.
when you look at like how Christopher Reeves did Superman, he did like different things to try to like he kind of hunched over a little more and things like that when he was playing Clark Kent, and like it feels like there's a lot of those types of inspirations brought. Like if you notice in the trailer, he's wearing like super oversized suits and different things, and his posture and demeanor is very like completely different in a way that like Christopher Reeves did when he was Clark Kent versus Superman.
And it makes sense too, because at the end of the day, what do you want to see a dude that's like 6'3" that you can honestly pick out of a fucking lineup and say this motherfucker is Superman, or would you rather have a dude that's 6'3", looks like he's got a hunch, where his oversized fucking suit looks dorky as fuck, and you would never tell he's Superman? You take your fucking pick.
Right, and I think that's something that that it looks like they're potentially doing well in this Superman.
But the one casting I'm gonna tell you right now, you cannot fight me on. The one cast you cannot fight me on is this one, because this casting is fucking spot on. You cannot fight me on that one. You cannot fight me on that. That casting is fucking spot on for Jimmy Olsen.
It does. Yeah, I mean, he does. He has a lot of the same look and stuff. Like he's pretty solid for Jimmy.
Yeah, like the minute they said that this dude was gonna play Jimmy Olsen, I was fucking sold. I was like, okay, James Gunn, shut the fuck up and take my fucking money. Take my fucking money. Because over the past few movies, they have not done Jimmy Olsen. Well, the last time they really did Jimmy Olsen any like fucking justice was Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman. That's it. That's it. Because, well, actually, no, I take it back. Superman Returns did Jimmy a little bit of justice, but we didn't see enough of Jimmy. You know? But other than that, I mean, Smallville, they did a bait and switch. Yeah, they did a bait and switch in Smallville, and then don't even get me started with Batman v Superman, how they did Jimmy Olsen. Like every time I think about that, I just want to freaking throw something at the wall.
And, the thing I like about this Jimmy is he is not a dreamboat. He's not a hunk. That was always my biggest problem with the Supergirl show. It's not so. It's like if you're gonna make him change his thing, whatever. You can't change his personality and everything else with it. That's just a whole new person. And so it's like when they brought in this hunky dreamboat to play Jimmy Olsen, I'm like, all right, dude, no, this is not okay.
And don't get me wrong, I like that actor, like that. Makata Brooks. Don't get me wrong, I like that actor. He's a badass actor, but even he wasn't selling me on Jimmy Olsen, and it's nothing against him. It's nothing against him. It's just at the end of the day, if you're someone that reads the comic books, you already know Jimmy Olsen is like this dorky little redhead kid that always follows Clark Kent around, but at the same time, he's best friends with Superman. You know, yeah, he's just that dorky kid that follows Superman around. Not in a bad way, but you get the point.
Yeah, like not every character has to be something super over the top spectacular.
Right.
And it feels like there's a lot of shows that want to do that so badly.
Alfred. How Alfred is suddenly the most badass that ever has been. And there are times when I think it's pretty cool that they do that. But most of the time, I like it when he's just an old dude with dedication. Like, I don't necessarily need him to have this huge military background or whatever.
But to be fair, that was always his background. That was always known. But I got you.
But yeah, like what I kind of like is I forget which one it was, but he pulls a shotty on somebody and he goes says something like Batman may have a problem with guns, but I don't, and he's basically just like I will just shoot you, and that to me
from shit.
And that to me is like that's what a military guy would do. He's not going to get in there in hand-to-hand combat with you because he's been taught his whole life it's easier just to shoot the enemy. You don't want to get into combat with them unless you absolutely have to. And so that's what I like is an Alfred who is ready to handle some stuff, but he'd rather just shoot you. And right. I kind of like that. Not to mention there comes a point where it's like, dude, you're old. You can only do so much. Like I watched the extended version of Watchmen like 2 days ago, and the old man getting in the fight with those punk kids when they beat him to death. That to me was a really realistic thing about what an old person who knows his shit, but he's past his prime. Right. And that to me is more what an Alfred fight with somebody would look like. He's going to get a few good ones in, but if there's too many, if there's too much, he's not going to win just because of age. And so I kind of like that. I don't need him to be as powerful as the rest of the Bat family, and I think they tend to do that with. And some characters I like it when they sort of juice them up a little bit, like in the 3D animated Ninja Turtles when they took April and they kind of started training her into the being a ninja, but they never made her quite as powerful as the guys who'd been doing it all those years. Yeah. But she still had her badass moments. So I like that, but she's also one of the more main prominent characters. Therefore, she deserves that. Like, I don't need to see a universe where Perry White is a jujitsu master. Like, I don't need that.
That would just be kind of fucking weird to do some shit like that. That would just be really fucking weird.
And that's kind of what I see when I see them doing that, where they're trying to make everybody a little over the top. So when, like, back to your point, when Jimmy's just a regular nerd, what most of us would be, just like, oh, can I get your autograph, Mr. Superman? And just that's who most of us are. And yeah, dude, there's plenty of nerds like Henry Cavill that are just fucking yoked, but most of us aren't that. Yeah. And so to have one of us in there and it's really how it's supposed to be. I think there's a lot of comic book. In fact, I can't think of anything that seems comic book inaccurate offhand.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of what I think he's known for too, is like he actually like James Gunn is a pretty big comic book nerd from what I understand. Yeah. So he does focus really hard on making things comic book accurate.
Yeah. That's what I've heard too. I've heard the same thing, that when it comes to comic books, he's really in the comic books. That's one thing I've always heard about him.
Or at least he will very seriously respect the source material.
And that's something that the DCEU kind of lacked a little bit, is that you had some people that knew the source material, and then you had some people that didn't necessarily understand the source material. But I digress, man.
And the thing is, like, speaking of source material, Marvel to me is dropping the ball so much in terms of source material that it's like that's one of the things that's making it easier for people to jump ship over to this new DC.
Bro,
because
Facts. You're telling no lie right now.
I'm about done with the only movie left that I want to see is the new Captain America, and I'm going to wait for it to hit streaming. I don't see myself paying money to go see it.
Same. I already said it straight up. I'm not paying to see that. I'm sorry. Like, it just.
Well, I think that Marvel has dropped the ball in the way that, like, basically to me, Marvel is like the DEI thing done wrong.
Yes.
I understand what they're trying to do. The problem is you don't have to emasculate every male character
Bro,
in
fact.
order to elevate some of these other characters. Like She-Hulk stands on her own as a good character,
Thank
and
you.
you don't have to emasculate Bruce Banner's Hulk to make a good She-Hulk. But
Have I
feel
not
they
been
felt
saying this,
they had to
Johnny?
Do that.
Have I not been saying this?
We've all been saying it because
Yeah.
that show was.
Like,
Dude, I don't even
what?
know what they were doing.
Right. Sorry, Maverick. I just had, dude. Every time I talk She-Hulk, I get.
Well, and everybody just likes to go,
Dude.
oh well, Marvel fans just don't like strong female characters, and it's like She-Hulk is a loved character in the comic book world.
Right. I was
Like,
gonna say, and this is the kicker. She-Hulk is one of my favorite female superheroes. That's why I'm like, when I saw this fucking show, I was pissed, bro. I was like, what the fuck even is this? This is not fucking She-Hulk.
right.
Like,
And
I
so
don't even know
they've
what
just spent so much time like neutering their male characters and just stuff like that is going to push away a lot of people and kind of it's like there's good characters. I personally don't see Ironheart going any better than any of the other projects. I feel like Ironheart was never a loved character in the comics.
No one liked Ironheart, bro.
It's a fumble of a comic book character that's being forced into the movies, and it just feels like Marvel just keeps going that way. And so I really like that James Gunn does have like more respect for the comics, and like he is pretty good at creating characters that all stand on their own.
Yeah.
And so I hope that he does a good job of that with that universe, like making characters like Hawkgirl and Mr. Terrific and all of these other characters stand on their own.
Yes.
Instead of having to do something like neuter Superman to make it so that these characters seem more relevant.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm distracted because my dog is laying on my Venom shirt right now. Like, he's just sitting there waiting there, hoping. He's just like, Dad, you're not gonna pay attention to me, then fuck you, I'm gonna lay on your shirt.
But to what Maverick said earlier about how everybody likes to say, "Oh, you men just don't like strong female characters," I'm like, dude, we've been loving female characters since forever and a half ago. Princess Leia, beloved since 1977.
Ripley.
Dude, I got a She-Hulk, the 10-inch figure up on the top shelf in my office. It's one of the first things you see when you walk in. I got a closet full of Wonder Woman stuff, over 50 Funko Pops, 2 Barbie dolls. I have like 6 Powerpuff Girl Funko Pops up on my shelf. It's like, dude, I strong women and strong girls, are awesome. You know, I rarely ever play a fighting game where I don't pick the chick other than...
Same.
I think the only time I ever pick the guy is in Mortal Kombat because I like the name.
Yeah. For me, it just depends on the game. But even then, like, Storm is like one of my favorite fucking X-Men characters of all time.
All time.
Like, that's
Nerd
not even up
culture
for debate.
has loved strong women more than like any other culture in terms of like entertainment. Like, you look at sci-fi, like Sarah Connor, like all like nerds love strong women. Like,
and that's why, like,
been throughout nerddom.
Yeah, that's why, like, I just find it funny that now in this day and age, everybody's like, "Oh, you guys just hate strong women." It's like, no, that can be further from the fucking truth.
We hate badly written characters. That's what
thank you. Exactly, that's what it is. It's just if you have a female character and she's written like shit, then yeah, nerds are gonna fucking tear you the fuck up.
But or if it's written at the expense of a character that is loved as well.
Again, shitty writing. If the writing is shit, then people aren't gonna fuck with it. Pure and simple. Okay, and if you write a female character and she's not sitting there having to emasculate every single fucking dude on the fucking team, just to get her just to freaking make her name. And she freaking whoops ass and is just badass on her own fucking merit. Case in point, Wonder Woman and all of the members of the X-Men. Then nobody's gonna fucking make a big deal about it. In fact, people are gonna be like, yes, we want more of this fucking character. Why do you think the first Wonder Woman did so fucking well? Because she did not emasculate any single fucking man in the movie. Well, except for that one part of Stephen Trevor. But then again, you also got to remember that was part of her character development. Because once she started working with the men on her fucking team, she started realizing that, okay, not all men is bad. In fact, some of these men can be very vulnerable. Like the one part with the dude, when the sniper guy, when he was about to freaking get ready to take a shot and his PTSD kicked in the middle of it. Rather than shit on him, she even said that she even fucking like bigged him up, but even said that he freaking won. He fought his war in his own right. You know,
and I think that's why the original Wonder Woman, like you said, the original Wonder Woman did really well.
yes.
Wonder Woman 84 did like, I understand what you wanted, that you wanted more. For me personally, that wasn't what that was a letdown in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think it had a lot of potential, but it fell flat in general for me.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's like that's one of those movies I'm really split on because it had things I liked, and then there were some things where I didn't like it. I just feel like some parts of the story it got a little convoluted. You know, I do feel like the CGI for Cheetah was a little cheap in my opinion. But overall, I mean, I still think it was a decent movie. I thought it was decent.
I was let down by the scene where they're talking about the armor, and she's just in the hurdle in the crowd of people, just shielded up and just kind of surrounded by the armor, just getting beat on. It's like you're not stopping anybody from going anywhere. They're just choosing to beat on your armor.
Yeah.
See, I think that movie and the Mortal Kombat movie kind of had the same problem, which is it came out when everybody was home, bored with nothing to do. And so both movies I think were okay and got completely trashed because that's like nobody had anything better to do. And
the Mortal Kombat movie was pretty good.
I thought it was good. I didn't appreciate that they were originally going to introduce the main character into the video games, and because it didn't do as well, they said, never mind. I'm like, screw you. You know, if you're going to take a dump, stand by your dump. That's right. Put that character in the game like you promised us, or, you know, so I didn't care for that, but I thought the movie was okay. And I saw one guy online said something that I really agreed with. And he's like, you know, everybody was expecting some deep Christopher Nolan stuff. He's like, it's based on a beat 'em up. It's based on a fighting video game. Like, what were you expecting besides what you were given?
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Thank you for saying that, because now I'm gonna have to freaking give an unpopular opinion, a very, very unpopular opinion, and I'm gonna piss some people off right now. I feel like, okay, you right? Just hold on to something. I'm gonna say this. I feel like Christopher Nolan kind of fucked up the whole superhero genre, in my opinion. And you know what? If y'all got an issue with what the fuck I said, this is all I gotta tell y'all.
Everyone on the roster, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
I said what I said.
See, the statement doesn't bother me, but I want to know your logic and reasoning behind it.
And the reason I say that is because, look, the Christopher Nolan movies were badass, right? But every time a version of Batman pops up, everyone wants to fucking compare it to the Christopher Nolan movie. I get it. The Christopher Nolan trilogy was nice. It was good. But I'm going to need you motherfuckers to stop fucking comparing the Christopher Nolan movies to whatever fucking superhero movie comes out after. Not every single superhero movie is supposed to be fucking grounded. Not every single superhero movie is going to be fucking realistic. You need to fucking get out of that fucking headspace. Have a little fucking fun with the damn movie. There's going to be shit in superhero movies. Oh, it's not realistic. Well, no shit. It's a fucking superhero movie. It's not supposed to be realistic. It's not supposed to make fucking sense necessarily. Well, if we're talking narrative-wise, yes. But as far as like the physics, Again, it's a fucking superhero movie. How the
Well, so I'll say there's a few different things with that. One is, I think that Christopher Nolan's Batman movies are actually probably half the reason we even have any DC movies.
that is true.
Period.
That's true.
So like I compare it to, I don't know if you guys know anything about like Critical Role and Dungeons and Dragons. Like Critical Role brought a lot of people into that. The problem is most people that make a game, like try to run a game, are not gonna run a game the same way. And so like it brings people in, but then they're just mad that it isn't the same thing that was.
Right.
I think that definitely happens with the Christopher Nolan movies. The thing is, Christopher Nolan did a good job of writing movies that were meant to be movies for a specific character in a standalone world and just do its thing. He did the thing that he was supposed to do, and he did it well. One of the caveats I will say is I don't think that Christian Bale's Batman was that great. I think that
Thank you.
I think that everything around Christian Bale set him up so that it was just all he had to do was not choke to have good movies.
Mother of God. I'm okay. I'm not the only one that thinks that. Thank you. I feel so much now. I don't feel alone in this fucking world.
Like it was only by the third movie that he finally got jacked enough to be a presentable Batman. And
Only for him to get his ass knocked around by Bane, but go on.
Yeah, very comic book inaccurate Bane. I'm looking forward to, because nothing's confirmed, but there is potential for Batista to play Bane, and even with Batista having slimmed down a bit, because he's still pretty jacked. That people don't want to give him credit for that. But most of Bane's muscles are going to be CGI anyway. And my thing is, Bane is the most popular Hispanic comic book character there is, and people don't even know he's Hispanic. And as somebody who himself is half Hispanic, I'm like, dude, when do we get ours? Like, when do we stop getting the scraps, the princesses that we didn't ask for, that nobody wants? When do we finally start getting something that's worth of? And
Yeah, Hawk Girl is Hispanic, right?
the new one in the movie.
Not just in the movie, even in the comics. Kendra Saunders is Hispanic.
See, I'm only familiar with the cartoon, so I just know her as being Thanagarian.
There's two different Hawk Girls. There's a Thanagarian Hawk Girl who is Shira Hall, who is the obvious reincarnation, and then there's Kendra Saunders.
Okay.
Yeah, she's actually pretty badass in the comic books, dude. She's a fucking badass. I definitely recommend you check her out. Kendra Saunders is a fucking badass, dude.
And so is she one of the reincarnations, or is she just her own thing, kind of?
I think she's just her own thing. I don't think she's a reincarnation. She just came across the freaking suit and whatnot. And I really don't remember much of her backstory, but I know she's not a reincarnation. That I know. But yeah, she's actually pretty badass, dude. I would definitely recommend checking her out.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, you can either do
Kendra Saunders, I think, is the one in the Superman 2025 too.
Yeah, that's who it's supposed to be. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it's Kendra Saunders in that one.
Oh, but back to what's his name as Christian Bale. Like the whole reason he got the voice thing is because when they told him he had to do two different voices, he threw a hissy fit and kept yelling and yelling until he threw out his voice, thereby giving him a second voice. And I'm like, dude, you're being paid millions of dollars, and you're throwing a fit like a child.
Hey, what's going on, Dr. Maggie? Appreciate you dropping by the stream, brother.
But yeah, that was one of the things that bothered me is like, I'm supposed to take you seriously as an actor when you're just a pouty little child. And I'm like, I don't think of I don't see Batman throwing a fit like that. And so it's like, and I am one of those people where if I don't like you enough as an actor, I have a hard time watching you in movies. But you really got to take it kind of far, because for me to get to that point, for the most part, Even if I don't like you, if you're doing a good job in a movie, I'm going to watch it. But there are some people that they really push my limit on that. There are times I look at that guy and I'm just like, you're not Batman.
Dude, Christian Bale was a diva. He's been known to be a fucking diva. I mean, y'all remember the whole meltdown on the Terminator Salvation freaking set, right? Where they had the whole voice thing recorded where he just blew up on everybody on set. Yeah, the dude's a diva. That's why I don't really care too much for Christian Bale. And even like I said, I just feel like his Batman was overrated as fuck, in my opinion. Very, very overrated.
And I think almost the opposite, because like with Ben Affleck, I think his was underrated because of how much people don't like Ben Affleck. But if you were to remove everything you know about that man and just look at the art he was putting on screen, it to me was a pretty darn accurate Batman, and their plans for the movie, from what I heard, sounded really good. It sounded like Affleck was, because people forget Affleck's written a lot of great scripts. Whatever you think of him as a man, he's a hell of a writer, and he wanted to be involved in the writing process of the Batman thing. So it's like when you get a guy who made such a huge splash with his opening script saying, hey, let me doctor that script up a little bit, it's gonna be good, dude. I think it would have been really good. And he gets all the hate he gets because of who he is as a person.
Right.
And I don't think he deserves it as an artist.
Nah, and honestly, like, and I think Ben Affleck was probably one of the most underrated Batmans, in my opinion. I feel like he was very underrated. You know, I think, and it's like I said, you know, I said it before, if he had did a solo Batman movie, keep in mind, Ben Affleck is a Batman fan. And we all know if he had finished that project, that movie would have been fucking fire, because from everything I was hearing what he was trying to do, he was trying to add like a whole thing with Deathstroke coming after him. And I even saw like a what was it? Oh man, I always forget what it's called. The little board, like a little
Storyboard?
Yeah, storyboard. They did a whole storyboard where there was a whole fight between Batman and Deathstroke. All I'm gonna say is this. If they did that fight in live action, that probably would have been one of the best Batman fight scenes ever seen on cinema. I'm talking like there were shurikens being fucking thrown, and like Batman's blocking the shurikens with the fucking with the gauntlet. And then like there's even a scene where Batman's throwing batarangs and Deathstroke is like dodging the fucking batarangs and they're hitting the back of the car and shit. And then you just see freaking Deathstroke and fucking Batman throwing hand. Bro, like you would have Batman doing flips over the fucking car and shit. Like, dog, that would have been one of the sickest fucking one of the sickest fight scenes in a Batman movie ever. If I can find that fucking storyboard, I'll see if I can play. Because that storyboard of how they wanted to do the fight scenes were fucking fire, bro. Straight fire.
So this will be my probably, I don't know if it's a hot take, but
No, go for it.
I would have liked seeing a Ben Affleck Batman in a Batman versus Superman that does take place in the future, like where they've known each other and it's like comic book accurate to when it would have occurred. And I would have also really liked to see Ben Affleck's Batman in an Injustice like trilogy or something like that. And then they could have had the main DC EU. It's not that Ben Affleck isn't a good Batman. It's just he's old now comparatively. Like,
I agree.
It's late in his career for him to be the mainline Batman. Is the only hit I would give against him. It's not that he's a bad Batman. It's just if he had been Batman, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, like the same time the Avengers and everything else started kicking up with like those different actors and stuff, like if they had started a DC universe at that point with him and then built up, that would have been ideal. But
that's fair. Yeah, that's 100% fair. I got no rebuttal to that. That's 100% fair. And even I had been saying, I even had those thoughts too. Like if Ben Affleck was Batman earlier in his career, he would have been fucking badass. But that is kind of the problem, is that he is relatively too old. I mean, the dude's like what, almost 50 right now, or is he 50? I can't remember.
And see, the thing is, I think it could work better if they hadn't gone with the whole Robin's dead and that's that. Like if they had put in a Bat family,
I'm
and
sorry, I felt some type of way when he said that, but go on.
but like when had he been his age, but had the entire Bat family to back him up, and so Nightwing's a more prominent character. You get Robin in there, and you throw in a Batgirl or two, and you start to round it out, and suddenly you don't care as much that he's older because you have all these other people that those are the main guys. But when they decided we're just gonna go ahead and kill Robin off and not give you anything other than that, it's dude.
And that's the thing, like what you're setting up and what you're talking about is an older stage Batman. Like that is him later in his comic book existence, right? And that's, I think, exactly where Ben Affleck fits and would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
they
funny.
misused him.
Yeah, and it's funny you bring up Robin, because I don't know if you heard, but they're supposed to be doing a DC animated project called the Dynamic Duo. And it's supposed to be it's basically supposed to be Nightwing and Red Hood teamed up.
They're also doing a live action Teen Titans where they're actually teens this time. So, and that'll have like Wally West and stuff like that in that. So
Yeah, and it's funny you bring up Wally West, because they actually threw an Easter egg in Creature Commandos where they showed like a possible future of all the DC characters being killed. It was Superman that was killed, Wonder Woman was dead, Batman was dead, and in the background you see Wally West in the background dead.
yeah, and he's in his Kid Flash uniform.
Yeah.
He's not Wally West Flash.
Right.
So
Which Wally are we talking here?
we're talking
Flash. Old school Wally.
yeah,
Redhead
like
Wally.
Kid Flash Wally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because for a period, wasn't there two Wallies? Because like the black one was from one universe, the
There
white
still
one was
is.
from another, and then they kind of came into the same universe somehow or another.
It's some weird shit, because long story short, when the whole the New 52 got created, which we've come to find out, spoiler alert, Dr. Manhattan essentially created the New 52 when Barry Allen did the whole Flashpoint shit. And at some point, Wally got pulled out of the DC universe, and he was just trapped in the Speed Force the whole time, the real Wally West. And then there happened to be a second Wally West that got created in said universe. Why they would name two people Wally, I don't fucking know, because they're supposed to be cousins or some shit like that. And then the original Wally got brought back into the DC universe when they did the whole DC Rebirth storyline, and he kept trying to show up to different people, trying to break out of the Speed Force to see if anybody would remember him. And at one point, he showed up to Barry, and he didn't have enough energy to stay in the main DC universe. And right as he was about to fade into the Speed Force, Barry remembers him and pulls him out of the Speed Force and saves him. So essentially, yeah, now that's the reason why you got two Wally West running around. And now there's two Flashes again, where it's Wally West as the Flash and Barry Allen as the Flash.
What are your guys' thoughts at the slight possibility of Grant Gustin coming back as the Flash in the DC universe? Because apparently he's friends with James Gunn and has expressed interest in coming back as the Flash potentially.
I'm with it. I mean, I love Grant Gustin. I love him as the Flash.
And Ezra Miller is apparently completely out as well.
Yep.
So there is room there as well.
Yeah, because Grant Gustin played the fuck out of Barry Allen. He's the gold standard for Barry Allen now. Not saying that John Wesley Shipp was a bad Barry Allen, because at one point I would have said John Wesley Shipp is the gold standard, but Grant Gustin surpassed him. And it's
I
not
don't
like
think
an
he'll
addition.
come back as like the main continuity,
I
like
don't think so
Barry
either.
Allen, but I could see a cameo happening.
Yeah. Because I know
See,
Grant Gustin still wants to play the Flash.
I would like to see him come back as the Flash, provided he's a whole new Flash. I don't want any
Right.
aspect of what was. Bring him in as a new guy, a little older, where he actually is in life, and go from there. Because like the thing is, I thought he was so good as the Flash that when they originally brought in, what's his name, Ezra Miller. This is of course.
Yeah, no, y'all keep going. I've just got to turn my AC off. Go ahead, keep going. I'm listening.
But yeah, like this was before he completely screwed up and decided to act like a maniac. But when they first brought him in, I actually kind of liked it because I thought Grant did such a good job as being a comic book accurate Flash that I'm like, who can touch this? Like, you have to go in a completely different direction. You have to get a kid that's like half Jewish, half Asian, something completely different to for people to be willing to accept it. Because if you try to make it comic book accurate, all anybody's going to do is compare you to Grant Gustin, and you're not going to win. And that's why, like, so I was real quick to accept Ezra Miller at that point in time, because I'm like, yeah, dude, you can't compete with that. No one can. And so to bring him back as a new version of the Flash, I'm like, yeah, who else are you going to get?
Right.
One thing I will say, I could never get over how they had Ezra Miller's Flash run. Like,
Oh
his
my God, I
run
was
was
going to
the
bring that up.
goofiest thing I have ever seen in any sort of, like, there is no way you run fast running like that.
And it's funny you said I was literally getting ready to bring that up right now. I was literally about to bring that up right now.
That man needs all the speed force in the
Bro.
universe to run like that and go fast.
Like, what the fuck even was that shit?
How he
Like-
like waved his arms way out to the side. It was just, I hated it.
Dude, I hated that shit with a passion, bro. I was just like, no, stop. Somebody tell this dude to run fucking normal and call it a fucking day. I don't know, man. That's just how I felt about that with Ezra Miller as the Flash. Like, I don't know. It was just, there were just some things that worked, and then just some things that just did not work with Ezra Miller as the Flash. I'm just gonna be honest.
So the Flash has like been like one of my favorite, DC characters for a long time, and so I kind of died inside with most of Ezra Miller's performance as it, especially after seeing Grant Gustin.
Yeah,
and like there were definitely things about the Flash show that had plenty of issues. Like,
yep.
Just in general, the whole Arrowverse, after a few years, like you could tell they were kind of going, well, what do we do with this next? And so things kind of started going off the rails as time went on.
Yeah, they were just throwing shit at the wall and hoping it would stick. I'm just gonna be honest, because as someone who is a fan of the Arrowverse, like I can even tell you at what season most of these shows fell off a fucking cliff. Like Arrow, I think after the third season that started to fall off a cliff, and then it kind of made up for it somewhat in the fifth and sixth season, and the final season was just fucking phenomenal. Let's see, Flash started falling off a cliff, I want to say in the middle of the fourth or fifth season.
I was going to say about season 5 is when I feel like that started really going down.
Yeah, I would say, I would argue after Crisis, after the whole Crisis on Infinite Earth story arc, it just fell off a fucking cliff.
Well, I mean, that's like kind of saying it felt like the MCU fell off after Endgame, right? Like,
yeah,
the Crisis on Infinite Earths was kind of the Endgame moment of that.
Yeah, and
that universe.
And Supergirl fell off a cliff after season 2. After season 2, that show just started taking L's, and then
Batgirl started on a cliff.
Yeah, that show fell off the cliff and never was able to climb back up. I'm sorry, and it's a damn shame.
Yeah, the Batwoman. Yeah, Batwoman.
Yeah, and it's a damn shame because Batwoman's one of my favorite characters, and I wanted to give that show a chance, and it just. I'm sorry. Every time I think about that show, I just get a fucking migraine, bro. Every fucking time. And then Legends was one of those shows. It started out really fucking good, and I want to say about which season was it when they broke time?
I've tried to remember because I kind of watched that show like in between watching some of the other shows. It was never like my go-to. Make sure I watch that every week.
Yeah, I want to say it was either. I think it was season 3, after when they ended the season where they broke time and time was all out of place and different historical figures and shit just showed up at random points in the fucking in the present. That was when it started falling off a cliff, and then everything after that just went to shit. I mean, adding John Constantine helped, but it helped a little bit, but it wasn't enough to keep me watching the damn show.
Well, and I feel like that was just it's a whole universe that kind of runs into that problem that Marvel is running into now, which is after we've gone through so much, how do we go to the next thing? How do we keep things going? And so, yeah, the Arrowverse just kind of fell off over time. I think just from I don't think they ever expected it to blow up the way it did. And when it did, they didn't know how to keep running with it.
Right. See, with Marvel too, talking about going off a cliff, what bothers me about that is they shouldn't have. You now have access to the X-Men. The X-Men is your ramp back up.
Oh,
how are you screwing this up? In addition to
you can answer that.
They're focusing on all the wrong stuff. I forget what the new terminology is. It's that three letter EUI or whatever the hell it is.
DEI.
DEI. They're focusing too much on that. Like, spoilers for anybody who hasn't watched Agatha yet. By the way, don't. The entire thing was written so that they could rewrite an already white character as a person of color. Like, that's what the whole purpose to me of the show was.
Well, let's just put it this way. To make a long story short, the reason Marvel went to shit is because you had goofy motherfuckers like Nate Moore, which, just give me a minute, because this dude pisses me off to the point where if I saw him in public, I'd probably slap him. No, I'm kidding. I wouldn't do that. But anyway, this dude's like Nate Moore will hire people that do not know the comic books. He literally said that in an interview, that they do not like to hire people that know anything about the comic books. And then they wonder why Marvel is tanking so badly.
And the Star Wars fans are like first time. Like Disney owning these things has not done any of these properties any favors.
Nope.
Acolyte was trash.
I didn't even bother watching that shit.
The show that's coming on right now, like 4th episode's out. When I was watching the 3rd one, it took me 4 installments to finish the episode because I kept stopping it and being like, this is so fucking bad. And I'm trying to give it the time to pick up because like we don't really know quite what's happening yet. So I'm trying to give it the opportunity, but I don't see it going anywhere positive. It's like if John and Dave aren't the ones doing it, it's basically not going to be good.
And which show were you talking about for that one, Johnny?
Skeleton Crew.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I heard good and bad about Skeleton Crew. So
it's extremely mundane so far. And it's like Star Wars is not supposed to be mundane, dude. It's Star Wars. It's action, it's drama, it's a lot of fun stuff. And I will say on Acolyte, I appreciate that they were trying to bring lightsaber lore back into the situation. I appreciated that, if nothing else. But beyond that, they had way too many characters that were just naturally more powerful than Yoda. And I'm like, what are we even doing here, dude? Like this isn't a video game. This isn't what you do here. And
actress
hurts
fumble,
my
by
heart.
the way, Carrie-Anne Moss. What a fumble. Great actress, just totally wasted.
who does that? Who does that? Oh my god. How do you get a freaky badass actress in your fucking show, and then you just
Kill her in the
drive
first
out,
5 minutes.
and then yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like you drive it off the cliff, and then dude, the whole I'm like, here's my thing. When I was hearing rumors, I was already hearing this rumor before they announced it. Like the third episode will make you walk away from the fucking show. I thought they were bullshitting, and then when I heard about it, I was like, okay, I dodged a bullet by not watching this fucking show. I dodged a fucking bullet.
Well, and I think that's the kind of why Marvel and Star Wars are failing so much is because they're hiring directors and they're hiring these people and they're saying, just make the show that you want to make within this world. We don't care if you know anything about this world. Read one comic book so that you know what the character looks like and their name, and then go ahead and make a movie on it or make a show on it or whatever you want to make on it. Feels like how they've been kind of running the ship. And so I do think that there's a big opportunity with James Gunn being a comic book person
Yes.
to fill the void that's being left in the comic book world right now, just
Right.
to kind of bring it back to what the original topic was.
Yeah, no, and
supposed
it's
to
funny
be.
you said that because I was gonna bring that. I was actually getting ready to bring it back too because I was getting ready to say like, look, this is the problem when you have people that don't know the source material, that aren't fans of the source, is that you get these projects that are just absent of life. You know, there's no appreciation for it. There's no passion into the source material. And you get shit like fucking like everything Star Wars that's coming out right now. You know, it's lifeless. Same with a lot of the stuff with MCU that comes out. It's like, dude, you have people that are fans of these fucking characters. You have like decades worth of fucking history that you can freaking pull from and bring it in and bring it to life. But no, you would rather just say, okay, we'll just have the characters by name and look and then just do whatever I feel like doing. And it's like the project you're breathing out is just lifeless, you know? And this is what I'm hoping that James Gunn brings to Superman is that he breathes life into the fucking project and that there's a little bit of passion behind it. And from what I gathered from that trailer, that's what James Gunn is trying to do. Mind you, you know, the whole giant kaiju, I mean, that shit was kind of a little off-putting, but you know, hey, I'll go with it. I'll go with it.
Well,
You know?
I mean, that's also pretty old school comics too.
Yeah, that's
you
what
know.
I'm saying. Like, yeah, because it's fucking Superman. You know, he was fighting weird fucking monsters like this back in the day. So I'll go with it. You know?
Yeah, and I think he recently go up against Godzilla in the comics, you know. So he does stuff like that.
Yeah, granted the Godzilla story wasn't canon, but I digress. I digress. You know, again, my just main point is like, let's start getting more projects that are not void of life, that are not.
That's one of the things about like Anthony Mackie and his thing is he wants stuff to be comic accurate, but it's not like he's the guy in charge. It's not like he's the one in charge of his own movie. It's not like he's the one putting together the crew to make his movie.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like just because your lead guy is all about it, that doesn't matter quite as much. But I appreciate that there's still somebody on the Marvel team that gives a crap about the comics. But I don't think it's enough. I think that the way when they screwed over what's the actor's name? Kang. When they screwed over Kang, Jonathan Majors. When they screwed him over like that, to me, everything went to hell. Because like I don't know how this Robert Downey Jr. thing is supposed to work, but it seems very silly to me. That's
just a Hail Mary. You know, that's just a Hail Mary play to try to get something to stick. They know that the Marvel fans loved RDJ, and so they're hoping to cash in on that.
Yep. I mean, I've been saying that, man. It's a distraction. That's all it is. It's a fucking distracting. And now they have Chris Evans coming back, but he's playing Nomad. Like, I'm
And speaking of Chris Evans coming back, I only thought Deadpool and Wolverine was so-so. I only thought it was so-so. And it got really good towards the end, but like the first, I would say, first 40 minutes of the movie, I'm watching it going, what's even the point of this? What are we doing here? After a while, it started going, but to me, like the beginning was like, it was this much storyline stretched out by this much fourth wall breaking. And I'm like, I appreciate the jokes, but I felt like they were doing a little too much of it for a certain part. But also, I think I came into it with a bad attitude because I'm kind of just done with the Marvel movies. I mean, it sucks, man, because like I don't want to walk away from the things I love. I love the things I love.
right.
But I think that's what I loved about the Deadpool movie personally, is it called out like all of the bullshit on the Marvel movies.
Yep.
Yes,
Right.
they probably did it too much, but like I think the entire thing was literally Ryan Reynolds and
Trolling
Hugh
Marvel.
Jackman being like, "Hey, you guys fumbled the shit out of this, so we're going to take this one movie to simultaneously give you guys the finger for all the things that you wasted, and also take a little bit of time to pay homage to the thing that we love and the things that we love about our characters and about like this universe at the same time." Like,
Yeah.
it felt like it was made to be like just all fan service, basically, was the entirety of the movie.
This is what I got out of it. This is what I got from it. Right? Like, this is what I got from it. Kevin Feige said, Ryan Reynolds, you can't make a freaking better MCU movie than we can. Ryan Reynolds, hold my beer.
More like hold my gin, but yes.
That's what I got from it. Is Ryan Reynolds just said, hold my beer. I got this. You know, and don't even, and like, my biggest gripe with that is why the fuck did I have to wait damn near almost like 15, 16 years to see Wolverine wear the fucking cowl?
Well, right, and that's what I'm saying. Like, that entire movie was a giant, hey, by the way, you fumbled this forever. Like, people wanted this, and we're going to prove that people wanted it by
Even Hugh
putting it
Jackman.
in a movie and watching it just print money. Like,
And even Hugh Jackman wanted this too. That's the sad part. Hugh Jackman even wanted this.
yeah,
Well, because he had said at one point the only way he would come back, I think, is if it was in the MCU.
Exactly. Right.
But I will say this, because like me, I give the movie like a solid 73. That's all I'm going to give it, is a 73. It's enjoyable. It's not as good as the first two, but I will say it's the best MCU movie since Shang-Chi.
That's fair. That's 100% fair, bro. I agree. I can actually agree with that.
well, yeah, and I think, I mean, honestly, half the things that probably hurt the Deadpool and Wolverine movie were them just trying to give a reason for its, like, how it existed. Like, that first 40 minutes was them trying to shoehorn in a reason to say it fits in the MCU anyway.
Not even mad about that.
So, like, I think if you were just like, hey, make a movie about Deadpool and Wolverine and don't go out of your way to link it to anything or whatever, I think Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman would have made a great movie, a great superhero movie.
Right. And then also one thing I'm going to even point out too, since you were talking about Anthony Mackie being someone that's a comic book person that respects the source material, even Henry Cavill had gripes with how Zack Snyder was portraying Superman. Like, even because I remember seeing an interview where Henry Cavill was even saying like the whole gloomy and somewhat kind of, I guess, depressing Superman kind of just wasn't his thing, and we need to get back to Superman being more hopeful, you know, being more, you know, an inspiration for other superheroes that want to be superheroes, because that's basically what Superman is, that beacon for hope. He stands for truth and justice. You know what I mean? That's
Zack Snyder's entire universe felt like the DC universe put through a Batman depression lens.
Yes, bro. That's fucked up, bro. That's fucked up.
But
That's
it is
very fucked up.
it is true though, because like going back
Yeah.
to the cartoons, like all of the Batman background stuff was done on black paper, versus the Superman stuff was done normal. The when you look at the backgrounds from both of those cartoons, even though they're identical animation styles, completely different vibe, because Superman is a symbol of hope. It's on his friggin' chest. Batman is all doom and gloom, and they knew how to keep those separate. But versus, yeah, like Zack Snyder wanted everything to be doom and gloom, and it's like, yeah, dude, some people have upbeat attitudes.
Well, and you look at what's worked for Justice League things. Like, yes, there are some segments of like darker Justice League stories, like in
Right.
movies and things like that. But when you look at like even like the Batman animated series and then the Justice League animated series of that same time frame, like
Right.
it was a brighter Justice League thing. Batman was still Batman in that like environment, but they didn't make the entire environment Batman's environment for everybody else.
Right.
And I think that's the trick that I think Zack Snyder missed. And that's why I think Zack Snyder would have done really well in an Injustice situation, because that's that darker alternate, timeline type thing where things are very bad. Like, things are bad. Superman is bad. Like,
I agree. Yeah, and I agree with Dr. Maggie's comment right here. Zack Snyder's verse was definitely the Nolan verse on downers. I agree with that. I'm not even mad about that, bro.
oh,
And with-
I mean, this is something. I don't know if Maggie was. He might have not have been here when we were talking about Christopher Nolan and how we mentioned.
No, he
that,
was.
like.
Yeah,
Christopher Nolan's environment was good for a Batman movie, but it isn't good for a DC universe. Like, it isn't good
Nope.
for an overall universe. It's great
I
for its individual movie for Batman, and that is it.
Agreed. There's no. I have no rebuttal for that. No, I agree. Why Nolan's universe was made specifically to tailor to a more grounded Batman, kind of like Matt Reeves' Batman universe. It's tailored to a more grounded universe. You know what I'm saying? And I think for the most part with Batman, that's how some directors can make Batman more plausible if they make it more of a grounded universe. Because I guess with some directors, they don't know how to do some of the crazy shit that Batman does in the comic books without making it look cheesy. I mean, case in point, Batman Forever and Batman and Robin.
I mean, there's a lot of things that Batman does in the comics that you're like, he doesn't have any powers at all. None. He can just magically disappear and is always unbelievably
when,
sneaky, perfectly sneaky all the time, every time.
Right.
To the point where even Superman doesn't catch it. It's like, yeah, that does not pass the smell test, but it's comics. We're gonna roll with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I was getting ready to say, too, because the fact that Batman can even get the drop on Superman, I'm just like, wait,
And
what
this
the
is
fuck?
a Superman that is capable of hearing people's heartbeat anywhere in the world and
Right.
identify people anywhere in the world. But Batman just can control his heartbeat to the point where it stops so that he can sneak up on
Right.
Superman.
like, let's make that make sense. But hey, it's comic books.
Yeah, right, exactly. But I think that's something that's been like a hole in like Batman logic forever, right? Like, it's just something that you just kind of overlook because you go, he's just Batman. And
Well, no, it's because Batman has the one superpower that not a lot of other comic book characters have. You want to know what it is? Plot
Money.
armor. Plot armor.
I mean, like well, yeah, I mean,
Like, let me rephrase
Death
that.
Battle people on Batman is just like, does he have prep time? If he has prep time, he beats everything ever, all the time, no matter what. And it's like, dude, like,
I don't think he's beaten Goku with prep time. I'm just saying that. I don't think he's beaten Yamcha with prep time.
if you were to try to say that on social media, just try it and watch them come out of the woodwork.
Dude, I'm not even gonna like get on that because with the amount, look, dude, look,
Oh yeah, the
I'm a Batman
Don't forget
fan
bat
too.
nipples. We need bat nipples too.
Yeah, look, I'm a Batman fan too. And even I'm gonna say no amount of prep time is gonna save him from Goku or anybody in the Dragon Ball universe. I'm gonna even say this too. Batman's prep time is fucking child's play to Doctor Doom's prep time.
What I think the important thing with Batman prep time is that it has to be Batman prep time and Batman getting the drop.
Hold on, got a little guy. I'm
Like,
listening.
He needs the element of surprise. Like Flash can think and move, faster than the speed of light. Like the neurons in Bruce Wayne's body cannot reach his muscle, or like the electrical signals from his brain to his muscles will not happen faster than Flash could blitz him. Like,
No, and the messed up part, you can plan that shit and you still won't even be prepped for that.
yeah,
You know
so
what I'm
that's just.
saying? Like,
But yeah, I think that the tone for the new movie is a lot better. I think the tone for the universe is potentially a lot better. I think that as long as they spend an adequate amount of time building up these characters and building up this world through the other things, I think that's going to be the only saving grace to this movie. If they just drop us in Superman 2025 without a bunch of lead up material to build up the other characters within that universe,
yeah.
I think that we're going to run into an oversaturation of like just explosion of lore dump with the movie that will detract from Superman's story as a whole for that movie.
Yeah, my thing is if they keep it laser focused on Superman, still have the outside characters, still have the other characters, but again, as long as the story stays hyper focused on Superman, then I think the movie will be fine.
Right. And that's what I want to see. I want to see them build up through shows or whatever the other characters in and that universe.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can spend the movie explaining how Superman now fits into the universe that is built.
Right. Oh, and then also one thing that was a big thing that I brought up, and nobody caught this when I did my first review on it. Nobody caught this. Is the fact that Pa Kent is still alive. Because you notice in every Superman movie, Jonathan Kent's dead.
Yeah.
We see him die.
Right. I just want to point that out. That Jonathan Kent in damn near almost every media iteration, with the exception of Lois and Clark. Yeah, really Lois and Clark. Jonathan Kent is dead when Clark becomes Superman. And it's like I've said, like, no, you need Jonathan Kent because even when Clark is Superman, he still has those vulnerable moments where he is like lost. Where he has those moments where he does not know how to handle a certain situation. Who does he go to when he needs the advice on how to handle it? He goes to Pa Kent. He goes to Ma Kent. And they both give their takes on how Clark should kind of handle it, but at the same time, at the end of the day, they still give him the guidance that he needs to be able to navigate making the right decision.
Right. And one of the things about Superman too is like he sees himself as an Earthling, and if you don't understand his relationship with his parents, you don't understand why he sees himself as an Earthling. We have to see that. Yeah, eventually Paul dies, yes, but we need to see that relationship with him and his dad for a good while. One, so that when Paul does die, like you are supposed to hurt too. It's not supposed to be a random moment. Like you're supposed to, as the fan, you're supposed to be like, no, and your heart breaks with Superman's. But it's like that's what keeps him grounded. That's also why in some of the other stuff he's when everybody's dead in the future and he's still alive, he starts going by Kal-El in certain things because like what grounds him to being an Earthling, he loses it a little bit, and so it's like I feel like it's an important part of his character for you to understand his relationship with his parents, the incredible parents he had that made him feel like one of us.
Right, and and that's what's always been missing in some of these in some of the iterations of Superman in live action is the relationship that he has with both of his parents. That's something that we don't necessarily get to really see. We usually see his relationship with his mom, but we don't really see his relationship with his dad. And I know from reading the comics that his dad plays a big part in his upbringing. His dad, not only that, but his dad plays a big part in why, when he's raising his son Jonathan in the comics, why he's the type of man he is with raising his son. Because of the fact that he had Pa Kent in his life. And the fact that Pa Kent is still there. So that way, if there's some things he doesn't understand with raising his son, he can go to his father and ask his father for advice. Not Jor-El, Jonathan Kent. Because Jonathan Kent raised him. Jonathan Kent and Martha Kent are responsible for Superman's upbringing, and it's why Superman is a Boy Scout, because of the upbringing of his parents. And I think that's something that needs to be kind of fleshed out a little bit more, because they always say, "Oh, Superman's a Boy Scout," in all the movies, like, "Oh, he's like, he's supposed a goody two shoe," but we never get into why it is he is the way he is. And I always look at,
I didn't hate everything they did with the Man of Steel, Jonathan Kent. Like, I liked the moment of Jonathan Kent's death in Man of Steel,
right,
because it was like hey, you need to let this happen. And like, it was like a hard moment in the movie. Like, it was an emotional moment in the movie when he's like, he's going to die. Superman knows he can save him. And he tells him, no, like, it's too important. You need to just keep your cover, keep everything. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't let everybody know.
Yeah.
The timing could have been better in terms of when in his life, but I didn't mind that type of I didn't mind that part of the writing of Man of Steel.
Right.
I think that moment is a key moment in Superman's life.
Sorry, I'm just looking at this stupid post where the stupid post that people have been posting on for a couple of days, where someone basically is trying to say Krillin would beat Superman in a fight.
That Destructo disc ain't nothing to fuck with.
But at the same time, Superman can still manipulate Ki. Literally, Krillin throws the fucking Destructo disc. Superman's gonna grab it and just look at like, what the fuck is this shit, and toss it. And not only that, Superman's gonna be too fast for Krillin to even be able to throw the fucking Destructo disc, and he's gonna punch him in the fucking face, and Krillin's done.
I mean, it always comes down to like, what iteration of Superman is it? What, you know what I mean? Like, there's there's some unbelievably broken iterations of Superman. And if you take any version of Superman, I mean, we had this discussion before. We're basically like,
because I'm gonna say this: if it's animated Superman, okay, then I can see him getting his ass whooped by a Dragon Ball Z character. Anything anything above that, no, just no. I'm not even gonna say the live action ones, because it depends. Because if we're gonna talk live action, that's a whole separate discussion with that one,
right?
And because I would even argue Injustice Superman is enough to take out Krillin, but Injustice Superman's not taking out Goku. I'm just being honest.
Yeah, it's like,
well, here's the other thing about the Krillin thing. What if his wife's around?
Superman's wife?
No. Krillin's
18?
wife.
18?
Because here's the thing. When Krillin starts losing, 18's not just going to stand there. 18.
Oh, in that case, that's a whole different. And at that point, that's just the game changer right there.
Yeah, that's not a 1v1 anymore.
Well, I will say this: if this is either, what was it, Silver Age Superman, or even the current iteration of Superman, who now has the same feats of Silver Age Superman and then some, I'm sorry, they're fucked. They're fucked. They are just fucked beyond belief. Because
The
And
two people with the most denial in any form of death battle world are the DBZ people and the Batman people.
Right.
I'm gonna throw One Punch Man fans into that one as well.
Oh, you're a fucking dick. You're
One
a
Punch
dick.
Man is definitely up there.
Broken. He's broken beyond belief.
But I think that's the problem is that, like, I think that One Punch Man also gets underrated in the fact that he's still never really had to try. It's kind of like trying to power gauge Whis from the DBZ universe.
Man,
Like, Whis has never had to try. So we
And
don't know what Whis trying looks like to even give an appropriate analysis of his power.
yeah, and even I saw a whole like post where someone posted Whis versus Superman, and I said this: look, if it's Silver Age Superman, the fight can come close, but like Infinite Frontier or Silver Age Superman, it can come close. If we're talking anything below that, nah, Whis is fucking him up.
Dude, like we stopped Vegeta from attacking just by willing it so.
Exactly.
Vegeta was gonna hit him, and Whis was just like, "No, you're not."
Right.
And he
That's what I'm
didn't.
saying. Like,
Yeah.
Whis could be anywhere from like universal to multiversal, and we have no idea where he is in that power spectrum. But we
All we
know
know
that
is-
he can basically stop attacks that have the potential of being depending on how you interpret the Battle of Gods collisions, being able to destroy the universe.
Yeah, because last I checked, doesn't Whis surpass Beerus? Last I checked.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So he did knock out Beerus with like
And he-
one shot, like one attack, but
Yeah.
we don't know what level. Again, we don't know what level of exertion and
Right.
everything there would be in there. But like the
Yeah.
Goku defenders and stuff like that, like
Dude.
arguing with people about Goku is like arguing with people about Batman with prep time.
Dude.
I mean, at least One Punch Man, you have the benefit of he's never actually been beaten, and we don't know what his maximum power is, so you
Right.
can't gauge it. But like Goku's been slapped around a few times, so we got a pretty good idea of what will knock Goku out. Like,
And that's the thing. Like Batman gets his ass whooped in the comics pretty consistently. Like he always comes back at the end to win, but he gets jacked up quite a bit.
and that's always the problem with Batman too. Is like you have Batman, get his back broken by somebody like Bane, and then turn around and dodge Doomsday's eye lasers, and you're like, but what? Like, so you can move faster than light, but at the same time get your back broken by somebody who's just super strong. Like,
I'm leaving that one the fuck alone.
it's just like make it make sense, and that's the problem with Batman is he's so inconsistent because he's hanging with like planetary plus threats in one moment, and then he's losing to street level threats the next moment.
It makes no logical sense. It's a logical fallacy. I've already kind of just let it go when it comes to Batman. I don't even bother trying to argue it anymore. I just let it go. I'm just like, okay, whatever. He's Batman. I'll go with it. Because look, when we talk about the DBZ defenders and the Batman defenders, Jesus fucking Christ! Like, look, what I noticed when it comes to talking about the Superman versus Goku fight, it's just illogical bullshit by DBZ fans sometimes because they always say, well, Goku can use Ultra Instinct, and it's like, but do you even know how fast he is with Ultra Instinct? They can't even give a good gauge. They just say, oh, he's faster than the speed of light. I'm like, are you sure he's faster than light? Because even, let's say if he's faster than light, hypothetically, right? Superman has broken the time barrier.
I mean, the ultimate problem with every like argument involving a death battle is that people forget that the characters within their own universe have plot armor.
Yep.
So you have to take away the plot armor. You have to take away the fact that Goku always ends up winning because Batman and Superman also always end up winning in the end. You can't use, well, they always win in the end as part of your explanation for how they win a
Right. Me and
a
I even always,
non-in-universe fight. Like,
yeah, because I always use this logic. Goku has limitations. Superman has limits, but half the time it takes a lot for him to hit those limits. And I don't see Goku pushing Superman past his fucking limits.
well, I mean, Goku's inherently written with limits, and Superman is generally written without much in terms of limits.
Exactly. That's the point.
Well,
It's
and the
because
thing,
of how
too,
the characters are written.
with Dragon Ball 2, their speed doesn't make sense. So there is the thing when he goes up against Pycon where they're fighting, and at some point they mention that they're approaching, that they're either moving faster than the speed of light or near at, and then Goku becomes much stronger, therefore he becomes faster, right? So in theory, you know, Superman's going to have a very hard time laying a hand on him, but anytime the Z fighters need to get somewhere on Earth, it takes them 3 fucking episodes. Meanwhile, it takes Superman 3 seconds. So, like, their speed has no consistency in the universe that they're in. You try putting them in somebody else's universe, again, it's not going to make sense. And I always say what happens when Goku meets Superman is Goku teaches Superman how to fight.
Oh, shit. Hold up.
And like,
Hold on. Before you continue, I gotta get this. Hold on. I gotta say this. Hold on.
What, was Krillin busy? Come on, buddy, you can't be serious. With your power level, you're no android, you're no Namekian, and you're certainly no Super Saiyan. You're just human.
Yeah? Well, you know what? Power levels! Super Saiyans! And you! Shin Kiko!
Oh, that's a Dora.
That's what just happened right now with what you just fucking said right now. You just basically just said. That's all I heard was just you just basically said fuck power levels and fuck all that shit. That's what I just heard.
and you look at like people always like to, well, Goku can instant transmission. Well, Goku also has to put his hand on his forehead most of the time he does it. And like he has to lock on to something and know where he's going and all sorts of other limitations. And they just pretend that like instant transmission means he can just be anywhere, anytime, like everywhere, all the time, all at once, basically. Like,
and I always go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying it's just
because
like I said, it's the Goku people are like the Batman with prep time people. It doesn't matter how much logic you throw or like what your explanation is. They're like a monkey at the zoo. They just throw shit at you and dance around like they won.
Right. And every time they bring up the instant transmission argument, I destroy this argument every single fucking time. And it's this. First off, instant transmission requires Goku to sense ki. Okay? He cannot sense ki all the way on the other side of the fucking galaxy, which is why he has the instant transmission to King Kai's place, because King Kai's place works as a fucking repeater. If you know anything about radios, you know what I'm talking about. It works as a repeater so that way he can find other fucking signals. The other universes are basically other signals. Once he's able to lock onto said universe, then said galaxy, he can freaking use his instant transmission, go to that galaxy. King Kai works as an anchor point because he can't just instant transmission all the way to fucking Namek because he can't sense that far out. So that's why I'm like, when people say, oh, he can instant transmission Superman to a red sun, not how that works. Try again.
See, that goes down to prep time. Goku would have to already know that weakness. Goku would have to already know where the planet is. And not only that, but Goku isn't going to do that. He's not going to take that cheap shot. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. When Goku meets Superman and they fight, Superman cannot lay a hand on him, and Goku will teach him how to fight.
Right. And that's the messed up part is that when people say, oh, he'll transform into a red sun, that just tells me you don't know Goku at all. And keep in mind,
exactly, you're looking at somebody who throws a Senzu bean to the bad guy.
That's about to beat up his son.
Like, or even like the original, like, Universe 6 and Universe 7 tournament. He's like, I want you to lift all the restrictions off of Hit because he can't use all of his abilities because they would kill me. Like, so he's constantly the guy that's going, no, I want to fight you at full strength. And if I get my ass whooped, I get my ass whooped.
Yeah, this is all I hear when people throw out the whole, oh, he can transform into a red sun.
Subin!
That's pretty much it. That's all I hear every single fucking time with this shit. And I'm like, look, that would never happen. And then I always bring up, well, if they bring up bloodlusted Superman, I'm like, okay, Superman's gonna grab Goku by his fucking hair, toss him into fucking space, done. Fight's over. Fight's over.
And here's the thing: if Goku wanted to be low about it, he wouldn't have to go find a red sun planet. He could literally just call Roshi's sister because she knows magic, and that's it. Goku's out, or not Goku, fucking Superman's out. You know, if he wanted to take cheap shots, he'd just go find a magician. He wants to fight Superman. He's going to see a guy that is way, because like my old comic book guy was like, you remember that scene when Goku has those weights on and they turn him up to whatever tons? So now we know about how much Goku can lift versus over here, you can see Superman lifting this much. So we can show that he has way more strength than Goku does, but strength isn't the only thing that wins a fight. Skill and speed are, and that's where I think Goku's going to have the advantage. But like I said, Goku is the kind of person who, when he realizes Superman can't fight, and that's canon, that's in the Super Friends arc, the third one, when it's he and Wonder Woman are about to go stand in for this guy who his whole job is to be in this universe, and he fights a non-ending horde of demons. And Batman's like, I'm going to give you a break. I'm going to take over for a little while. So you can go say hi to your family, do whatever. And time, is different from one universe to the other. But when he goes, he takes Wonder Woman. And when she says why, he goes, powers don't work in this universe. So I need somebody who actually has combat training. And she goes, I'm going to tell him you said that. And he goes, please don't. But it's that thing where he doesn't know how to fight. That's even in the cartoon when Lois is boxing Harley Quinn, and he says, you always lead with your chin. And she goes, I learned from the best. And it's like, because that's how, when you're so powerful, you don't have to know how to fight. You just charge in and punch.
Yeah.
Superman is definitely just a brawler. Like, yeah, he's just straight up brawler.
Oh, and then here's one argument I'm gonna dead right now. I always hear people say, "Oh, well, Dragon Ball Z characters, they're planet busters. Superman's not a planet buster." I'm gonna destroy this argument right now. Give me a second. I'm gonna destroy.
Thinking that Superman is not capable of busting a planet is.
I'm gonna destroy this argument right now. I'm gonna put this argument out the fucking way. Okay. So keep in mind, just to add context, Superman got thrown into the fifth dimensional planet where there's no access to the sun, and he had been trapped there for like damn near like almost. I guess you could say it was almost like a month. By fifth dimensional physics. And you already know in the fifth dimension, the physics are all fucked up, right? So with Superman trying to fly, he's already has no energy to fly, right? So he's maybe like at roughly about maybe 10% energy. And this is what this motherfucker does and escapes out of the prison. Literally jumps and destroys the fucking planet in the process. As you can see in the background. And it even says that he shattered the planet behind him.
Oh, for sure. I think that there's no argument that Superman is planetary, like above planetary. Like, right? Like I mean, in
Yeah.
Dragon Ball Z, this kind of goes back to what Johnny was saying, but they're so inconsistent. It's like Vegeta was supposed to be planet busting level, even in the Saiyan saga, right?
Right.
And then but then they're like, oh, by the way, now Goku and Beerus, their hands meeting in the wrong way while they're punching is enough to destroy the universe or whatever. And it's just
like enough to shake the universe. And I'm even kind of like, well, Superman did the same thing when he freaking punched the fucking World Forger. Literally sent a ripple across the fucking, not just the universe, but the multiverse. So what the fuck are we even talking about here?
Oh, yeah. I'm just saying, like, people
Yeah.
will argue that, like, the Dragon Ball Z characters aren't even universal. And it's like, it's so inconsistent with what they do and what they say and how they, like, one moment they're like, oh, these two, like, Beerus isn't even using his full power, but them punching is enough to destroy the universe. But then the next moment, none of it matters anymore. And even though they've powered up significantly, none of those, like, power scaling ramifications exist anymore. And it's like, okay, so
because even
Super Saiyan Blue fighting each other, which should be significantly stronger than Super Saiyan God, the standard one, like, and it's mastered at this point, like, all of a sudden, all of that goes away. It's weird. It doesn't make any sense.
Because even I can argue that there are characters in Dragon Ball Z that are universal. I can agree with that. That's not even up for debate. I can even agree that even if, let's say, if we say Goku is universal, he's like low level universal. I wouldn't put him up there as like high level universal. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't either. Right?
Yeah, like no, he's not busting universes. Like he's not pulling off a Superboy Prime. We're literally destroying a universe just within a fit of fucking rage.
Right.
Goku's not doing that shit.
And see, Goku has the drawback is he can't breathe in space. Now, when he goes God mode, he can, but he can only keep that for so long. Now, I will say, on the flip side, there is an issue I read. It was during the New 52 when Wonder Woman and Superman were dating, and they actually go to split the atom. I forget why they had to do it. I think maybe they were going up against Doomsday or something, but Superman guides her because she has a blade made from Hephaestus, so it's sharp enough to split an atom. And with Superman's vision, he can see it, and together they split the atom. He uses his body to protect her, and now he's withered down to nothing but a skeleton.
I remember that shit. Yeah,
she flies him up to the sun. He heals, right? But the point is, a strong enough energy blast is going to have an effect on Superman, and that's where DBZ characters are going to start to have their advantage is through their energy attacks. Because like Superman's most powerful energy attack is like basically when his eye lasers go so crazy that it kind of just all comes out of him.
Solar flare.
And is that what it's called?
Yeah, but but Superman's powers have evolved,
right?
Because now he's able to use the solar flare in short spurts, but he still has to go to the fucking sun and recharge. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he can do a construct now. Let me find that. Yeah, he can do it. Yeah, Superman can do like somewhat of an energy construct.
Right. And Goku or Superman, everybody forgets that he has 3 weaknesses, not one. Everybody thinks it's just kryptonite. It's kryptonite, magic, and red solar energy. But the thing is, in certain storylines, he develops immunities to all 3 of those.
Yeah, I was going to say, because he has magic resist. Like, he is able to resist magic later, too.
Yeah, because I think one of the most recent books they did, they had a freaking magic empowered, a magic infused Bizarro who showed up, and he was fighting Superman. And keep in mind, these were the strongest magic users within the multiverse that infused Bizarro with their magic. And Superman developed a resistance to it and still beat Bizarro. So I mean, Superman isn't 100% vulnerable to all types of magic. There are some magics that he is strong, that he is resistant to. And then Kryptonite, he's starting to, because I know there's a version of Superman as he got older, he damn near, Kingdom Come Superman developed a complete immunity to Kryptonite just due to just time of being exposed to it. His body ended up creating the antibodies to where he's immune to it. And Superman is starting to get to that point now currently in the comic books. He's not 100% fully immune to it, if that makes sense.
Right. And see, I think with magic, a lot of it is the more he gets hit by the same magic, the more his body figures out what's going on.
Yep.
And so it's like the more you use the magic against him, the more eventually he's going to develop an immunity to that. And I think it's the Injustice video game where they lock him away in a red solar cell, and you kind of he does something, his eyes light up or something that lets you know he still has some kind of power even in that red solar cell or whatever it is. So it's like I've seen him develop immunities to all of his weaknesses.
Yep. Okay, I found the picture where Superman's doing the energy construct. Give me a minute. Let me pull it up. And this is like in one of the recent books. I think it happened like a year ago. So y'all can see. And this happened around the time when he got like his where he got the whole fucking power boost from being exposed to white solar energy. And I think this happens when he's exposed to blue solar energy, I want to say.
Yeah, white and blue overclock him.
Yeah, like if I'm not white basically gave him not just that ability, but he can also create a fucking portal where he can teleport, and he has tactile telekinesis like Superboy. So there's that. And then blue solar energy is like steroids for fucking Superman. You basically take what he normally has and it multiplies by 10.
And then, of course, it always goes down to storylines because there is the one where he gets too close to the sun and gets cancer.
Why are we bringing up All-Star Superman? You did.
Well, and I was going to say that the biggest thing with Superman is that there's been so many different writers that there's just zero consistency. And most of them revolve around, I want to see Superman do something cool, so I'm going to have him just sit under a whole bunch of different types of lights and see what happens.
And hold that thought. Hold on. I'm going to go use the restroom. Keep talking. I'm just going to go to the restroom. I'll be right back. I'm listening. I can hear you guys.
But yeah, so, it's all going to depend on writers. I'm one of the guys who's on the nobody's beaten Goku list, but I don't feel the need to become obnoxious about it. You know what I mean? Like the whole reason we're having this conversation is to have fun with each other. We're nerds. We're trying to nerd out. It doesn't need to be taken that darn seriously.
Well, I just don't understand why people get like offended over like their favorite character not winning, like people having an opinion or a reason why they believe your X character wouldn't win. Like that's like, I don't know. It's just weird to me that the level of offended that certain people get.
Yeah, and the thing is like I said earlier, all these people lose in their own series. All these people that everybody thinks would always win, they don't always win in their own comics, in their own stories, in their own stuff. You have to lose sometimes. No matter how, anytime two characters are fighting, the one guy eventually starts to have a few winning shots. It is rare, other than like certain animes when you get towards like the very last bit of the fight where it becomes very one-sided. But for the most part, no matter how one-sided it is, the other guy gets good hits off. Right. And sometimes your guy loses.
Yep. And I always bring it back to anytime we bring that up, because I got this one dude at work that always wants to argue the whole Goku Vegeta fight. And I always tell him, Goku has never won a fight against Vegeta. Ever. And I always name the 3 examples, and it's always an excuse. And I'm just like, dude. And even then, let's just say hypothetically we throw those fights out of there. There are fights that Goku loses. Like you can't name him a single, like name me the only fight you can think of outside of that Goku's even beaten any villain by himself is Frieza. That's about it.
And he didn't kill him.
Nope.
Trunks killed him.
Right. This is true.
And then
And it's no slight on Goku because I do like Goku. Don't get this fucked up.
Well, Goku did kill Frieza in Resurrection F, though.
Yeah. You're right. He did. That is true. He did. I forgot about that. He did kill Frieza.
Only after letting him blow up the planet and
Then we
time
had
rewind.
rolling back time, but he did kill somebody.
although it was, I still say that was Vegeta's victory, because had Vegeta known what was going to happen the way Goku did, Vegeta would have just killed him himself.
Right.
You know, Vegeta had already won, but he was, you know, being Vegeta because he had a bone to pick. This guy killed everybody he's ever known. He's going to talk a little trash before he kills him.
Yeah.
But yeah, like,
Well,
and
Goku
that-
would have won that fight against Frieza if he hadn't gotten shot too at the same time.
Oh my god, dude.
Which was like probably the most stupid thing in all of.
Vegeta would have
Yeah,
never
dude.
let his guard down.
And everybody,
Right.
oh, dude, and I love the excuses people make when you say Goku got dropped by a laser. Oh my fucking god!
Well, I mean, it
anytime
just
you bring
shows-
that up, anytime you bring that fight up to a Dragon Ball fan, you bring that fact up, they
It just
lose their
shows
fucking
how.
shit.
I mean, to me, that just kind of is explaining how the Dragon Balls, the Dragon Ball worlds, like that universe's defense system works, right? It's like you're actively maintaining your ki in a defensive posture to protect your body. And if you stop thinking about it or whatever, or you relax too much, your ki is no longer protecting you.
And this is what I always say. So he has to be concentrating in order for him not to be hurt. Got you. And what I always love too is the Dragon Ball fans will always react. And keep in mind, I'm a Dragon Ball fan too, but they'll always react and bring up some old ass shit from like the 1950s and the 1960s with Superman to make their fucking point. It's like, you're not helping your fucking point at all, because you're bringing up old shit and you forget that these characters evolve over time.
Here's the thing: if Superman's taking a nap and somebody throws a rock at him, Superman's not going to feel it.
Nope.
We all saw what happened when Krillin threw a rock at Goku. All right, it hurt like hell. That's part of their thing. Is they have to be powered up. They have to be whatever. That's why, I always go for Vegeta, because Vegeta has the killer instinct, and Vegeta's not going to let his guard down like that.
Yep. I always say it. Vegeta's my boy, but I don't give a shit what nobody says. Vegeta's my boy. That's my favorite character in Dragon Ball Z. Him and Trunks.
Vegeta is like the most overlooked character.
He's the
And,
most underappreciated character.
yeah, because Vegeta is like the self-made man, right? Like,
Which is weird to say for a prince.
right. He went from being like the arrogant, like, I'm just born better, I don't need to do anything just to be better than you, I'm just better by existing, to like pushing himself to absolute limits. And like, I think that
And greatness.
and the thing that Super did for Vegeta that they didn't do for Goku that annoys the shit out of me is like Vegeta's battle intelligence is like a showcase type thing in Super. Like, even when you look at the superhero thing, like that whole fight in Dragon Ball Superhero between him and Goku without powering up, like, was him like knowing, like, he was watching Jiren and noticing that Jiren just exerted less effort with everything that he did.
Yep.
Whereas like Goku's battle intelligence shows like random flares in Super, but his battle intelligence throughout Z was significant. He was always very, very aware of the situation in Z. Like, even when he gave the Zenzu Bean to Cell, like, he knew Gohan could whoop his ass.
Right.
He just didn't expect Gohan to not know that he could whoop his ass.
Yeah. And
And
what
then,
I
like,
always
Super, he's just an idiot 90% of the series. and he shows random flares, like when Hit goes to assassinate him and he fires the energy shot that falls down and revives him. Like,
Right.
it shows like that super high level battle intelligence occasionally, but Vegeta has that super high battle level intelligence all the time throughout Super, basically.
And I'm even going to use, and the funny that you bring up the Jiren fight, because I'm even going to bring this up, the whole thing with Goku hitting Master Ultra Instinct. Goku should have already known at some point he hasn't really mastered the form. And you already know in Dragon Ball, if you haven't mastered a fucking form, it's going to fuck you up. Case in point, Frieza in the golden form. So what the fuck made anybody think that with Goku having quote-unquote Master Ultra Instinct that he was going to be able to hold it for a long time?
Right, he achieved Ultra Instinct. He never mastered it.
No, he
Well,
didn't.
they just call it Master Ultra Instinct. But you get my point though, right?
Right.
Right. Well, and again, Goku not having, like, randomly not having the same level of intelligence that he had just prior.
Yeah.
Because, like, Resurrection F, like you said, he knows what it's doing to Frieza, and he knows that Frieza's not going to be able to maintain it. And he's just kind of buying his time. But then when he's got, he's running what should be fully autonomously, like, not even having to think about it, he doesn't, like, it's like, okay, so he just randomly forgets that he doesn't have all the time in the universe anymore. It just, it's so inconsistent. And I think that's the thing that drives me nuts about, at least with Superman's inconsistencies. You can blame Superman's inconsistencies on the fact that a billion different people have written him.
Right. And then when it comes to Dragon Ball,
It's like one dude is the creative lead for Dragon Ball, for, like, obviously with the exception of GT, yeah.
which by the way, rest in peace to Akira Toriyama. But I
Yeah.
digress.
Though some of the stuff that isn't necessarily like the core, like, I still go back and I will say that Dead Zone has some of the best fight sequences in all of Dragon Ball.
Bro, I always say this, man. One thing I loved about Dragon Ball Z, well, the original Dragon Ball, not Z, was the fight choreography. In fact, speaking of which, Dayama, that's the one thing I love. That's the redeeming factor for Dayama, is the fucking fight scenes on that shit. It's like actual martial art fight scenes.
Well, and I think that's what I think. What I personally believe is that Toriyama knew that he didn't have a whole lot of time left.
Yeah.
And he wanted to do something. He wanted to go back to what he loved. And the Daima art style and everything like that. If you look at all of Toriyama's other works, they go into that kind of art style, that borderline like chibi-ish art style.
Yeah.
And stuff. And I think it was like him wanting to make his final thing that he did what he loved.
Right. I agree 100% with that.
I am still waiting for the dub. It should be out next month.
Yeah. I mean, I like the I've been watching the subtitle. In fact, I'm like 2 episodes behind right now. No, 3 episodes behind. Yeah, I got to get back on it. I just haven't made time to like watch it, but I have a little bit of time now, so I'm probably going to end up catching up on it. Since I don't have work this week, I can catch up on it. Because I'm really behind on it.
Well, I'm going to have to call it, my friend.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I'm probably going to be having to call the stream because, we've been on this bitch for like 2 hours now.
Yeah, I needed to walk my dogs 20 minutes ago.
But I appreciate the conversation, gentlemen.
Yeah, bro.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, let's do it again next time for sure, man. But yeah, I'll definitely be in touch with you guys, and I'll definitely let y'all know when I'm gonna end up doing another stream like that.
Sounds good.
All right,
Yeah.
but all right, gentlemen, y'all be safe. Peace. I'm gonna go ahead and cue the outro. Everybody that tuned in, thank y'all for tuning in, and we out the bitch. Peace.